Mama V is here. Good morning to you, Mama V.
Good morning.
And we have to do a review of the newspapers. Dominating is the subject of slavery, modern slavery in Libya.
Exactly, because, you know, CNN did that report, and suddenly we're talking about it, and leaders, world leaders are also talking about it. The West is now talking about this subject, plus African leaders as well. But is this something that we didn't know about? Are we saying that it's because we're seeing the videos and we're seeing the horrible pictures? Is that it?
I think the migrants had always complained, and I had known about this issue for the last 10 years. I've covered a couple of Ghanaians who had been returned or even have been employed back to Ghana by the Ghanaian government. And sometimes I think I find it a bit hypocritical that we're thinking that this is something that is just coming out of the blue.
Yeah.
And the next question we even have to ask is that in our respective African countries, what are we doing to improve the burden of the citizenry? Because that's at the heart. Why is that the Europeans don't come to Ghana through those routes? They come to Ghana through the various good airlines to come and take the resources and go away. So if we have the resources here, they come to exploit the resources. Why can't we exploit those resources for the betterment of our citizens? It just doesn't make sense.
Good question.
So we want the Europeans to solve our headaches for us, and then when they get to their continent, we also solve that problem for us as well.
I guess the situation has also gotten worse because there's no Gaddafi. In fact, and Libya is stateless.
Yes,
who is in charge of Libya, really?
There's a UN-backed government that they have there, but we have various factions that are ruling various territories.
There's the internationally recognized government, and then there's the
basically
other
it's around Tripoli.
There's an EU-AU conversation happening in Burkina Faso. So this subject,
La Côte d'Ivoire,
Abidjan. Yeah. So this subject is also definitely has become very topical. It's in all the newspapers. That's why we're talking about it right now. But we have a conversation later this evening. It's a DW multimedia collaboration. So this conversation will happen at the ISE Center later today at 5 p.m. You want to be a part of this conversation. We'll tell you a lot more about it. But let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper, shall we, Roland?
Yeah, we should.
Right. On the front page of the Graphic, Libya slave trade scandalous, according to President Akufo-Addo. Also, foreign direct investment raking $4.4 billion in 9 months, and we will expedite action on Bwepe-Yape bridges, roads and highways. Minister, remember, he was hauled before Parliament yesterday to answer some questions on the closure of these two bridges and what the havoc, if you like, that's causing the inconvenience to motorists and traders. So let's talk about Libya first and what President Akufo-Addo has been saying. President Akufo-Addo has condemned the alleged auction of African migrants as slaves in Libya, describing it as gross and scandalous abuse of human rights. He said the trading of African migrants was a mockery of the alleged solidarity of African nations grouped in the African Union, of which Libya is a member. So details of what he's been saying, but we know there are some African leaders who are ready to airlift their citizens from Libya. So there's Nigeria, and the Nigerian president has been talking about this. And then there's Samuel Eto'o Roland, who's also offered to also pay for the airfares of those who are stranded. But the point is, do we know exactly where they are, or are we just relying on this report by the CNN?
Well, in some of the U.S. media, it's been, you know, CNN has had some bad blood with Trump and the Trump administration, so they said it's fake news.
Fake news.
But
shall we just go to the BBC, the CNN website? Let's look at what they are reporting, and then let's take, because what's been happening, even on the BBC, I've been monitoring. Are people who have gone through that, who are also sharing their own stories. I think there's one story to share on CNN. So we will let's just see. Okay, that's it. There's a CNN exclusive. Shall we listen to this 21-year-old man from Nigeria? So this is just one of many horrifying stories of African nationals who've been traded, sold. So they get you in some of the instances They grab you, they hold you hostage, and then they call your family members. Yesterday, I listened to our foreign minister say that sometimes it's they connive with some people even in your own country. You know, so they trace your family members and then they tell them, listen, we have your daughter or your son, and if you don't pay this amount of money, that person is going to die. So if they're able to raise the money like in 2 weeks or in a month, it means that you are in their hands. And like you know, this 21-year-old is saying, they beat you, they keep beating you to ensure that the ransom comes in early.
And because for many of the camps and where they are kept, they keep bringing a lot more of them. When they see that the place is getting full, then they call in people to just sell them off. Yeah. Like the way you sell off, they used to sell slaves back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. We also had stories about them killing, they would kill and take your kidney and things like that.
For the organ transplant.
Exactly. Yeah. So very horrifying stories coming out of this. And as usual, we're talking. Our leaders are meeting. They are meeting the Western leaders, and they are talking. It's not real action. The problem is the fact that Libya is a main transit point, and there's nothing. I mean, Libya is just like nothing, stateless, really.
Yeah, really. They have a UN-backed government, but the thing is that it's always been a route to Europe. But only that when Gaddafi was there, you could have some meaningful life before you decide to move on to the next part. Okay.
I mean, when Gaddafi was, even for the Libyan citizens, I mean, the kind of things that he put in place for them. See, sometimes, that's why they say, sometimes you don't realize the importance of someone until
the person leaves.
Exactly. And we're really feeling the absence of Gaddafi. It doesn't matter what you think of him. The things that he did. But
yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
All right. There are other stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's go to page 16 real quick, and we'll follow through, I think, with the times that Roland has. So the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwata, yesterday assured Parliament that rehabilitation works on the Bripe and Yape bridges would be expedited and completed before or in 4 weeks. He said the closure of the two bridges now was critical and absolutely necessary to avert their total collapse, with its ripple effect on the nation. And some of the details coming out, apparently there were some works going on, but with the coming into office of this new administration, those works on the other roads were stopped. Otherwise, we would have had a better alternative to the closure of these two bridges, apparently. And it was, like he said, absolutely important that we close this. And to think that Christmas is just around the corner, and these two bridges are really, really important. But they're saying that you can use the other alternative routes. I wonder why people are not using it. But that's also because I'm not sure they are smooth roads.
No, they're not like too much trouble. And one of the main roads will be the Western Corridor Road. It's not been completed. We've had sections that are good, more trouble, but it's a long stretch.
Okay.
So just like the Accra Kumasi Road, where it was completed in phases, I guess the next phase, which had all been under contract and all that, we've had, you know, sometimes when there's a change of government.
Those works have been stopped, actually.
Yes, actually. So it means that perhaps we didn't see this, we're not futuristic about it, we didn't do the right planning. We didn't know that when we close a bridge, and we know that in Accra we don't farm. We have skyscrapers. We have nothing. The food would have to come from that part of the country to here.
Yeah.
And we are big people. We sit in Accra. We make directives, and the citizens at the end of the day suffer. Yeah.
Let's do the last headline that we'll look at is on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says, smoke from cook stoves, open fires claim 17,000 lives annually. Unbelievable. Story by Kukwa in Ketsia Esiedu in Accra says about 17,000 Ghanaians, mainly women and children, lose their lives as a result of exposure to smoke from traditional cook stoves and open fires. According to a World Health Organization report, out of the number, 2,200 children died every year from acute lower respiratory infections caused by smoke from open fires. There's a lot more details to that particular story on the back page of the Daily Graphic. Let's move on to the Ghanaian Times now.
So we go to the Ghanaian Times, and it's still the subject of slavery in Libya, and this time the MPs are outraged.
We don't need them to be outraged. We want action.
They also call on the AU regional bodies to intervene.
You see, that's the thing. AU, what can AU do?
Yeah. It's a question I guess we'll have to keep asking ourselves.
What can AU do?
So we have Jida case. Abuga Pele gives evidence in court. It's an ongoing trial, and President attends the 5th AU-EU summit in La Côte d'Ivoire, and Bupe Yape bridges closure is to avert a national disaster. We do understand that, but we don't take decisions in isolation. That's what we did in this instance. Since February, we've been taking such decisions, at least in some of the instances. So we should have known that. Now we're coming to the end of the year. Full staff will need to come around. People are traveling up and down, NGOs, etc. But they just have had some difficulties. Okay, so those are the stories we have on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. But let's go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times. It says Chips for Life project launch, and apparently a 5-year community-based health planning services for life project was launched in Accra. It is to expand the CHIPS services to residents in the Upper West, Upper East and Northern regions. That's a good one. And the project, facilitated by the Ghana Health Service, is being funded by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, at the cost of some $9 million US. Energy Commission to audit all electrical wiring, we're told. We say these all the time. I don't know what we do about it. Well, let's see what we'll do. And Mama V, which of the papers?
I've got the Daily Dispatch. Front page of the Daily Dispatch, still on modern day slavery in Libya. 168 Ghanaians detained and 3 sold as slaves. But Roland, as we continue to talk about this subject, let's also talk about those who, irrespective of what they hear or what they see, they feel that for some reason they are better than all the people they've seen going through a lot of hardships. They are better for some reason. They are invincible. They can sail through and make it to Italy and make it to Germany, irrespective of what they've seen and what they've heard. It's a dangerous trip.
Yeah, it is.
It's a dangerous trip. I mean, just look at your parents. You say you are going for greener pastures, so there's nothing at home. That's why you're going. Imagine being abducted and the people asking your poor parents to bring like $2,000 or $5,000. It means that they'll have to sell every little thing left. They have to go begging to raise that money so you can be freed. So in essence, what are you doing? You going, what are you doing? But for those of our leaders who are also in Ivory Coast, correct? In Abidjan talking right now, we should look at the root cause. Why would people want to risk their lives and go on this journey? It's because all is not well where they are coming from. People don't have jobs, people don't have food to eat, and they feel like, let me also take the trip. If I survive, at least I can get something to do.
Yeah. If you survive, you go to Europe, you may do some menial jobs and you get
I mean, look at this guy. He's just 21, but he's thinking about
his future. He says his future is done. I keep wondering.
And he's thinking about the people.
21 in Ghana, you should be in the university or something. That's not the end of your life.
The reality is, he's even talking about the people he embarked on the journey with, and the fact that some of them are already in Europe.
So his mind is still there.
But listen, you should also think about the people back home. So your mates, they are probably, like doing jobs, or they are running their own businesses. When you come back home, it's not the same. You're going to be starting from zero and on nothing.
But that is where they need the counseling to know that at 21, life is actually not over. People are 35, 38, they have real life challenges more than he does.
That's true. That's true. There's an MPP Extra Delegates Conference that will happen in Kumasi on December 17, 2017. Details of that also in the Daily Dispatch.
They've made some amendments to their constitution.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have. For example.
Okay, so a constitutional amendments committee was outdoored at a short ceremony at the party's headquarters on Thursday, September 14, 2017, to oversee the party's constitutional amendment processes. Okay, Roland, tell us about the changes.
Yeah, so on the front page of the Daily Guide, we have, it says MPP amends constitution. But at the end of the day, they said, for example, if you're a DCE now, and these MCs, DCs, they tend to put in a lot of effort using the...
they have resources already because of their positions.
So they compete with the MPs. And the MPs become non-entity by the time that they have to go for primaries. And so they contest them and they get to win. And we have, for example, a number of them in the House currently. The MPP has made it a point. If you know you will be contesting, you have any mindset to contest as MP, please stop now. So from now to December, you have to resign your position as MC or DCE.
Oh, okay.
And declare your intentions, and wait till you declare your intentions. Have somebody in that position who cannot contest at the time when they are going for primaries or calling for those candidates.
Okay, that's like getting the level, the playing field leveled.
And they say it's from their last or the experiences since the Fourth Republic began. For example, Ninote was a chairman of the party.
Yes.
And somebody like a chairman can also not contest in that instance, or party position holder, because they want you to work at what you do and finish your term, and then give the opportunity to the MP to also go defend before the people why he should be re-elected, or go through the processes of the primaries at the party level without any rancor, because usually that's what happens.
Okay, we hope that the people will follow through the directive.
Follow through?
Yes.
It is a directive from the party, and they are going to vote for it, because the the Council of Elders is the second biggest body from the National Executive Council.
So that's one of the key things that they would be voting on when they go on this extra delegate conference, is that
Definitely.
it? Okay, all right. So details of that on the back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, and I think we'll continue with the Daily Guide because there are details of the same story on the extra delegate conference.
Yeah, so it's basically the same, and etc. etc. And Nana is my rightful successor. President Jacob Kufuor is saying, of course we all know that, rightfully, he's earned the right to become your rightful successor. But the good thing we're also being told is that the GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority, apparently has achieved its revenue target. And with barely a month left to the end of 2017, some key revenue agencies operating under the Ghana Revenue Authority have met their revenue targets. The Daily Guide has added. Information available to the paper suggested that various agencies such as SEPS, the Domestic Tax Division, have almost met their target due to hard work, contrary to the expression of pessimism by some supporters of the opposing National Democratic Congress. Again, overall, the performance of GRA per the divisions, per the various divisions from January to October shows that domestic tax collection for the year total 15.4 as against a target of some 15.5 billion. And then we have, all right. All right, so those are the stories we have. Let's go to the center spread. Center spread is a News One pullout. We have Miss Universe Ruth Kwashi disappointed in Ghanaians, and yesterday we featured that story, talking about how she felt, and we discussed it, right? How she felt that we should have been in a position to support her and vote for her, etc. He said the Ghanaians that supported her when she went for the world contest were mainly in the diaspora.
We're tired of the beauty pageant, so
no, we have a serious problem. Migration is a serious
seriously, we're not thinking about voting for some beauty queen to become whatever.
It's good that you're on set today. It's serious. Tell them.
Listen, and I think that people should begin to gauge. Ghanaians are not thinking about this any longer. We're gone past this. You did very well. Congratulations to you. That's what we can do for you. But apart from that,
I made a top 16.
So what? Enjoy your reign,
it's
madam.
Serious. Migration is happening. Unemployment.
We have heavy things.
We have
what is your going to Miss Universe and coming into the top 16 do for us as Ghanaians with all our challenges? We are up today. God willing, everybody is up and healthy. We're going to go to work. You're going into the sick. What is he going to do for us? So congratulations. Live with it. Let's go.
Nice response.
Let's move on.
Other stories we have on the center spread. Ebo White tells Duncan Williams' life story in latest play, and we know that Nicholas is a play that we previewed here. Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar dominate 2018 Grammy nominations. And so we have Ed Sheeran. A major snub this year is Ed Sheeran, who wasn't nominated for any of the top categories, record album, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, Ed Sheeran is very good. He has a great song called Perfect. Perfect is doing very well.
And I hear he did a sing-along. You know, he has a tree song. So there was a sing. I'm not sure where exactly, but he was encouraging people to...
He and Fuse ODG.
Yes.
It's titled Boami.
Yes.
You know, and then they told their audience to have renditions made and the number of people who even didn't speak Tree and iota of Tree made it until we preview the story.
That's a great ambassador for Ghana. And thanks to Fuse ODG. I don't know how he did it, but he's made Ed Sheeran fall in love with Ghana so much. So much. And I think we're great. Let's do the Today newspaper, front page of the Today. 2 jailed for child trafficking. Another strange accident in Tema. And massive rots uncovered at Amenfi West District. Quickly to page 3. On the rots, it says investigations by Today have revealed that revenue collectors at Asankragua markets in the Amenfi West districts of the Western region have placed their personal interest above that of the nation. And according to the paper's findings, instead of these revenue collectors issuing daily tickets of 1 Ghana cedis to the market women, they have rather resorted to exchanging tickets for foodstuff, meats, fish, among other perishable ingredients. Very selfish indeed. It's like barter trade, except that they're not the state, if you like, the assembly. They are supposed to be doing this on behalf of the assembly, but it's going into their own pocket. You can read details of this in the paper. On the accident, 7 people, including 2 ladies, were rushed to the Tema General Hospital yesterday morning when a tipper truck fully loaded with chippings rammed into a 207 bus at the motorway runabout of the Tema Adar Road. And according to eyewitnesses, the accident occurred when the tipper truck, in an attempt to avoid hitting an oncoming OA bus, unfortunately ran into the 207 bus, injuring the occupants who were rushed to the Tema General Hospital. Meanwhile, the OA bus driver is responding to treatment, whilst the trailer driver, who allegedly caused the accident, is at large. And you know that this is coming of the horrible news we had over the weekend, where heavy rocks fell onto a BMW, killing 2 occupants of that vehicle. So I guess that's why it says another strange accident happening in Tema. But we all, as drivers, we have to be cautious. And sometimes, even when you are being cautious and driving defensively, if somebody decides not to obey the rules, it can affect you. And a lot of the accidents we've seen, not necessarily the fault of those who end up either dying or being injured, but somebody else. And
Sure.
Dambai Magistrate Courts in the Bnaf region has sentenced a 39-year-old farmer, Lydia Doche, and Mauli Nyajo, 30, a fisherman, to 12 months in prison for child trafficking, both pleading guilty or pleaded guilty on 2 counts of conspiracy to commit crime contrary to Section 23(1) of the Criminal Offence Act. And details of that, where we're picking the law from, and the backstory of how these 2 got to be jailed in the paper. There are other very interesting stories in the Today newspaper, but that will be it for the ones that I am looking at. Roland?
All right, so let's look at the last paper, and it is the Business Finder. Economists laud Bank of Ghana over 550 basis point cut in policy rate, already taxing commercial banks to reduce lending rates significantly. I don't know how far this is going to go, whether
bad loans dropped to 10.5% in October.
The thing has been dropped to 20%, but I don't know. That's the prime rate. That's the rate at which the Bank of Ghana has set the rate.
But the commercial banks, they make so much profits.
Will tell you that they have so much risk.
Yeah. Well, the risk is high, but the profit is good.
Because that's why it's always going to be like that for some time.
Yeah.
All right, so we have to do...
we have to do online. We have to go to myjoyonline.com.
So let's look at some of the portals. We'll go to myjoyonline.com.
And we'll talk about Donald Trump. We'll have a Trump moment on the show because he's retweeted something that the far right in the UK tweeted, and it's getting a lot of bashing. But listen, I think for those of us here, we'll hear about the bashing, but there are so many people who are also in support of the things that he does. Yeah. The man who inspired the Ice Bucket Challenge is dead. Oh, the man who inspired the Ice Bucket Challenge, the hottest viral social media trend in 2014, has died at age 46.
And it was for an ailment called LCD or...
Yeah, something like that. Details of that is on myjoyonline.com. Shall we move on? Cristiano Ronaldo finally gets a realistic statue. What happened? This is this is not him. This is more like him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the one on the right looks more like Ronaldo. Not the one on the left is horrible. Who did that? All right. So let's move on. There's a video. Ogasco whips Kwabuche in fiercely contested quiz. At Disco missing, and we're counting down to the schools reunion that will happen on Saturday. So this is part of the studio appearances. You can catch up if you missed. Homosexuality saga, Bako, is it Flays Roland, Ekufuado critics. Editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guard newspaper says it is mischievous and propagandist, okay, for anyone to suggest the president was rallying homosexuals to agitate in order to have their continue. If you want to continue, you can clear the story, but I guess to have their way, if you like. Okay. Blame yourselves, not Libya, for slave situation. Ayariga tells African government.
That's what we're saying.
We're absolutely with you, Mr. Ayariga. But you were part of government some time back, so that includes you as well. You're also one of our leaders in Ghana. You are a member of parliament, so it affects all of you. And we have, there's an African parliament, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
An AU parliament and an ECOWAS parliament. We have some regional body parliament.
So this one, if CNN had not put the spotlight on this and we had not seen the videos, who would have been talking about this? See? We're a bunch of pretenders. Okay, let's talk about other things that are not pretentious. Don't give life to dead. GLC regulation on law school entry. Kweku Azar tells MPs, a US-based Ghanaian professor who's been fighting so much for us, has described as a sham, a proposed legal profession regulation 2017, which is currently before Parliament, and which would legalize the quota system. Oof. Details of that on the page myjoyonline.com. You can check it out. Another needless debate about homosexuality in Africa. Yeah, that's what we do. It's touch and go. We talk about it because the president has said something, and then, yeah, we'll sleep and wake up and not talk about it until somebody else says something. That's our nature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's move on. Bwepe Yape Bridges could have collapsed. Minister defends closure. He strongly did that on the floor of Parliament yesterday. We can run through our page, myjoyonline.com.
A better break than that, I think.
People went mad every day in prison. 168 Libya returnees land in Accra.
And I can tell you, I used to cover some back in the day. Some will return.
Oh, yeah. Those who have come back, the 168, some will go again. That's why I said that some people feel like they, for some reason, they can do it. They can do it. So the other stories on our page, myjoyonline.com, including videos of our content here on Joy News that you may have missed. Always catch up. There's a link to our YouTube page on myjoyonline.com.
All right. So let's look at City FM quickly. Students petition Parliament to stop LI for law school admissions. And then we have Minister ignored our petition on premix diversion. That's Fishermen Council.
And the minister is getting a lot of bashing. I don't know how she communicated on City FM.
Yeah,
she got a lot of bashing.
It's not her job. It's the job of the MPA. And,
you see, I told you.
And then, you know, incidentally, the chairman of the premix fuel camp, I'm sure it's related to her, I'm told. So people are reading a lot of meaning into all these and that kind of thing.
I said that, listen, some of the public officials say, if only the things you say in your bedroom and when you meet your own people, you don't say it when you go on a radio station or a TV station.
Not at all.
Can you speak differently, even if you don't mean it?
But Mama, it's all about political communications.
Yeah, and I think that most of them lack it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of those stories also on the page City FM Online. 27% of Ghanaians think presidential staffers
President's staffers.
Yes, that's the
are corrupt.
president, and then their staffers are corrupt.
I guess it's coming from the NCC's survey.
Is it a CCD, CDD, or NCC?
NCCE is the latest that I have seen. Okay. And so I am just thinking. Until you click on the story and read, I guess you can get more.
Next one. Slave trade in Libya, a mockery of African unity. No.
I beg our leaders, stop talking about this one. We know
this
it.
One, we know.
Fix it if you can. Accra Mall escapes closure over taxes.
Hey, the excursion place.
Yeah, they said kitty.
But they paid it. I had 2 million. They paid it in cash.
Did they? So
yeah, in check. It was in check. Yeah.
It won't bounce. I'm just saying because the tax collectors say anytime they went there, they'll give them one story or the other.
The GRA has been up and around. So they went to a cousin's place yesterday, and she had to call me. She said, Roland, talk to them.
Master, this one is not talk to them matter. It is not talk to them matter.
Cousin's place.
Pay
it. No, not for me to talk to them, but I think that she was just in the process of the registration and all that. So
they've been talking about this for like forever.
Yeah. So they always wait towards the end of the year. They go on these swoops, go and lock up stuff to make sure they make up the numbers of non-meeting targets. Yeah, that's what they always do. It's an old trick.
Yeah, but the businesses, this is their cocoa season. So if you don't get your money now, you can't get it in January.
Yeah. And they need to make sales, so they'll pay so that they can do sales.
Okay, let's do the BBC. And before we knock off, Nigeria to fly home stranded migrants.
Why don't you stop them from going by giving them good job and govern your country well?
Buhari speaks after video showing migrants being traded like goods. That's how he put it. Emerges. And they are ready to airlift them. So apparently Eto hasn't said he's airlifting anybody.
Nah.
Oh, okay. But it's attributed to him even on the BBC.
Yeah, but he's gone to, I think through his handle and social media, going to deny that he's never really.
Okay.
But it's good publicity for him for something he didn't do at all.
But he's capable. He can.
Sure.
Even if he doesn't, we'll still give it to him. Eto, you're a good man. Zimbabwean court acquits Mugabe critic.
That's the finance minister, I believe, or the critic. Okay.
No, the critic. You remember the pastor?
Yeah.
He's gone through 11 months back and forth, and then now, that's it. Egypt to secure Sinai within 3 months. Benghazi ringleader cleared of murder. Kenyatta vows to overcome divisions. Machete men lynched. West Africa gets biggest solar farm. All these and more on the BBC Africa page. With that said, we've just got a couple of minutes to hit 7, and that will be it. Oh, where's our Trump moments? We didn't have our Trump moments.
All right.
Yeah, okay, this is it. Donald Trump retweets far-right groups' anti-Muslim videos, and you would not see the videos, obviously, because of the content. I think one of them, it's some Muslims allegedly either beating up a disabled person, things like that.
And they have
3 different.
They happened where, in the States or in their country?
No, not in the States. Okay. In Europe.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So can we just go up and just so the first tweet from Jada. Roland, can you read? I think you can read this better.
The first tweet from Jada Franson, the deputy leader of Britain First, claims to show a Muslim migrant attacking a man on crutches. This was followed by 2 more videos of people Ms. Franson claims to be Muslim. Responding to Trump posts, UK Prime Minister Theresa May's official spokesperson said it was wrong for the president to have done this. So, meanwhile, the White House spokeswoman, Sarah Sanders, said Mrs. May and other world leaders knew that these are real threats that we have to talk about. Yeah. Look, I love Trump. I love Trump the way he does this thing. I don't mind.
So the whole idea is that he's trying to say that, okay, if this is happening in Europe, then it certainly can happen to the U.S.
Yes,
so he's using that to...
I love Trump.
But the point is that nobody can independently verify if the people in the video are indeed Muslims.
Nothing, but I love Trump. I love the way he is.
Okay, so that's our Trump moment, and that will be it for the review. We'll be back with a lot more, but for now, we've got detailed sports coming your way. Stay with us here on the AM show.
We'll be right back.